you save money if you move to Atlanta? Today we're talking about the cost of living in Atlanta compared to other major cities in the U.S. First, I'm Kelly Allen. I've been helping people move into Metro Atlanta for 25 years. And whether you are thinking of making a move in 3 years or 3 months, go ahead and click the subscribe button over here or wherever it is, maybe down here. And also make sure to hit me up on Calendly so we can set up a strategy session. Over 182 people move to Atlanta every day. And the reason why they do this are for the enormous amount of job opportunities, the mild weather, and the cost of living compared to some other major cities like LA, Austin, New York City, San Francisco, etc. Overall, Metro Atlanta is a pretty inexpensive place to live. That is, unless you live in Atlanta and that's all you've ever known. So today let's cover, what do things cost? What will a home cost you? What will renting cost you? What do utilities and taxes cost you? So that you can make the most informed decision in whether or not Metro Atlanta is the place that you want to call your next home. Metro Atlanta's cost of living index is right in line with the national average. However, the city of Atlanta's cost of living index is 2% higher than the national average and 12% higher than the state of Georgia. But that should come as no surprise. Most major cities have a higher cost of living index than do the areas around them. So Atlanta is not unlike other major cities. However, compared to other large cities that offer everything that Atlanta has, we are a bargain. Moving from New York City, our cost of living is 129% less. California, our cost of living is 51% less. So if you want the convenience of a big city with nice weather and lots of jobs that you're gonna love, Atlanta might be the place for you. So let's talk about housing to start off with. Now, there are lots of different types of housing in and around Metro Atlanta. You have luxury homes, you have starter homes, you have that middle range single family home, you have condos and townhomes, you have apartments and luxury apartments, you have new construction and resale. If you're curious about what a typical house might cost you in Atlanta, the median sales price for a single family home in Metro Atlanta as of this recording, which is February 2023, is $440,000, which is up 5.8% over last year. Now, if you're from Atlanta, I know what you're saying. You're asking yourself, where in the world can you get a decent home for $440,000? And the answer is, you need to go south of the city or on the far east, west, or north side of Metro Atlanta. So city limits, yeah, you're probably not going to spend $440,000. In this map, you can see all the areas of Metro Atlanta color-coded by their median sales price range. So if you want to be at or below $500,000, focusing your search on the extreme northwest, east, west, or south sides of Metro Atlanta are going to give you a ton of options. Home prices are directly impacted by the distance to Atlanta and how desirable the schools are. And you can see that in this graph from all the green and the yellow. Okay, so does the idea of living in an old historic home appeal to you? Maybe something pre-World War II? Well, you can get that in Atlanta. Now, you're probably going to be within the city limits of Atlanta, and that's going to run you about $500,000 up to over $1 million. So if living in the city doesn't appeal to you, and you would rather have a larger home on a larger lot, probably more suburban lifestyle, then you can absolutely get that in Metro Atlanta. You're probably going to spend anywhere from $450,000 up to well over $1 million to get within about 30 minutes of the city and get into some decent schools. So lots of options there as well. Well, I say lots of options, but inventory is still down about 20% in Atlanta. So when I say lots of options, I just mean that that's relative. You actually don't have a ton of options right now. And if you're the type of buyer that wants something brand new because you want less maintenance, then if you want to be within 30 minutes of the city, you're going to be spending at least probably $1 million. If you want to be in the suburbs and you can't afford new construction, I think the sweet spot is to buy something that is around 20 to 25 years old, something that the HVAC systems and the roof have already been replaced at least once, and hopefully you can buy into a neighborhood that's really established All right, let's swing to the other side. Let's say that you don't want to live in the suburbs. You don't even want to live in a house. You want to be in a condo. So in Atlanta, the concentration of our condos are going to be in the city of Atlanta, either in downtown Atlanta, midtown Atlanta, or Buckhead. And you'll also find some other condos up in Sandy Springs and Brookhaven and over in Vinings. So what will a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo run you in Atlanta? Well, you're probably going to be looking at a median of about $500,000. That'll get you 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. That'll get you in a great building, probably with a concierge, certainly with amenities and within walking distance to a lot of really cool stuff. So, but what if you're not planning on buying? What if your plan is to rent something before you purchase? So what will a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment run you in Atlanta? And it really depends on the area. Believe it or not, some suburbs in Metro Atlanta have higher rent than the city. But if you are in the city, a 2-bedroom apartment is going to run you about $1,800 a month. If you go up to, let's say, Johns Creek, a 2-bedroom apartment is probably going to run you about $2,500 a month. Okay, now that we've covered housing, let's get into some other stuff like groceries. Okay, so grocery prices are slightly higher here than the national average, but I'm a mom of 2, so I buy a lot of groceries every week. And I can tell you that a gallon of milk is going to cost you about $6. A dozen organic eggs is going to cost you about $6 as well. A pound of grass-fed beef is going to cost you probably around $7 or $8. A box of cereal, as long as you're doing buy one get one free, which is the only cereal we buy in my house, is going to cost you about maybe $3 to $4 a box. Produce is pretty affordable here. We do have obviously a lot of farms around us. Now let's talk about eating out. You know, if you're going to be looking at budget friendly, you're probably going to be looking at $8 to $15 a meal. For mid-range, you're probably looking around $20 a meal. And for your fine dining, you're looking at, probably $30 minimum for a meal. So now let's talk public transportation. If you are moving from a city where you are used to using public transportation, don't worry, we have that. We just don't have a lot of it. You have a bus, a train, and a streetcar system in Atlanta. And it goes a little bit to the outskirts of Atlanta as well. But those are really your public transportation options. MARTA, the train, runs north and south and east and west. It will take you as far north as Sandy Springs and then down to the airport and then east and west. Now, a typical fare for MARTA, a one-way ticket is $2.50. A weekly pass will cost you about $19. Or you can get a monthly pass for $95 if you're going to be using it often. The streetcar really is something that we've brought back from the past. It was the original public transportation in Atlanta, and they brought it back to a very small area of downtown Atlanta, and it cost you about $1 to ride the streetcar or $3 for the day, and it will hit 12 stops everywhere from the Martin Luther King Center to downtown Atlanta. But again, Atlanta is a car city. The average commute time to work is about 45 minutes, making it one of the longer commutes in the country. But with so many people working from home, some days a week to full-time, the commutes have really become something that people are just willing to deal with. So let's talk about utilities. So in Metro Atlanta, you're going to be paying gas, which our gas is not regulated. So it is a competitive market. You get to choose which gas provider you want, and they compete with each other. So you know that you can get the lowest price per therm if you really look for it. So you have gas, you have power, which our power is not quite as competitive. Where you live, you're going to have usually one power source, and that's who you pay your bill to every month, and it just is what it is, but that's pretty normal. Water obviously is by county, and so you're going to have one choice for water. And then internet and cable, obviously you can pick whomever you want. So if you are living in let's say a 4-bedroom home and you're a family of 4, your monthly utilities, not including internet, is probably going to run you approximately $300 to $350. So let's also talk about what there is to do. How much will it cost you to entertain yourself and have fun in Metro Atlanta. So as you can imagine, there are lots of things to do in Atlanta. We have the aquarium, we have the zoo, we have lots of parks, we have festivals, we have Six Flags, we have Stone Mountain. There's so much fun stuff to do in Metro Atlanta, and it's all pretty close if you live within an hour of the city. So how much do those things cost? Well, obviously there's a lot of free options. There's free parks, free festivals. So if you want to spend a very inexpensive weekend with your family, you can do that on a budget. And let me tell you something, you'll have a ton of fun. Now, if you want to go to things like the aquarium and the zoo and things like that, you can actually purchase a pass for $86 that will get you into the aquarium, the World of Coke, CNN, the zoo, and Fernbank. So it's worth doing if you want to play tourist in your own town or when you're coming to visit Atlanta to possibly look at moving here. Also, you can go to the Chattahoochee River. You can drop your own kayak in the river or paddleboard, or you can rent tubes and shoot the hooch, which you've probably heard of before, maybe you've heard of, but it's a big thing that we do here. One last thing I'll mention about entertainment is something that we in Atlanta are very excited about, and it's called the Beltline. The Beltline is a converted old railroad track system that went around the city, and it's been converted to a walking path. And along those walking paths are bars, restaurants, homes, condos, and apartments. It has brought such a fun atmosphere to all of the areas that it touches. All right, let's talk about property taxes next. So you got two situations happening with property taxes. The first is you've got city taxes and then you've got county taxes. Now, if you live in an area that's unincorporated, meaning you're not inside of a city, you are just in a county, then your taxes are going to be lower than someone who has to pay city and county taxes. So in the city of Atlanta, you're going to be looking at a 1.4% rate for property taxes. If you are in an unincorporated area, let's take Cobb County, for example, you're going to be looking at about 1.1%. Where you live greatly impacts the amount of property taxes you pay. And if you are price conscious or value conscious, then living outside of the city in an unincorporated area could save you thousands of dollars every year in taxes and still have you in a great area commutable to the city with great schools. We do have several property tax exemptions that will save you money on your taxes. The first is a basic homestead exemption that as long as you're living in your primary residence, you apply for once, and it's going to save you around 20% or so on your property taxes every year. We also have, depending on the county that you live in, not all counties have this, but we have a senior exemption. If you're between the ages of 62 and 67 and you live in Cobb County or Cherokee County or Forsyth County, I believe Hall County has this as well, you qualify to remove the school portion of your property taxes, which is the biggest portion of property taxes in most areas. I've seen that save people as much as 70% on their property taxes. That's also why some people who, once they're retired and their kids are out of the house, will choose to cross over a county line like Cobb County, where they can get a huge reduction on their property taxes. On an $800,000 home, your property tax bill is probably going to be somewhere, well, it's probably going to start somewhere around $6,000, but it's going to cap out around $8,000 or $9,000 a year. And if you're moving from New York City or somewhere in Connecticut, some of those states, your property taxes are at least twice that, if not 3 times that. So you are going to save a ton of money every year just in our property taxes. Let's talk sales tax, because that's another thing. City of Atlanta has the highest sales tax at 8.9%. That's the highest in Metro Atlanta. Other areas around Metro Atlanta are anywhere from 6% to about 7.5%. So sometimes just crossing over the line and buying what you need there can make a huge difference. We do usually have 2 sales tax holidays in the state, and those come directly from the governor. One of them will always fall around July when it's back to school time to help save money on those back to school supplies that, taxes can really add up on. All right, now let's talk income tax. So the state of Georgia has a pretty average income tax rate compared to the rest of the country. let's do some math here. So if you are a married couple, you filed married, and you made $100,000 last year, you would pay about $4,600 to the state. If you're single, then you would be paying about $5,100 to the state. So really, relatively speaking, we're about average compared to the nation. However, compared to big cities, I've had people move in and be shocked at how low the income tax is. So if you are planning a move to the Atlanta area, I hope that you understand by now that you have a lot of options in terms of housing. It really just depends on what your budget is, where you work, how far you want your commute to be, and if you need good public schools or not. So I hope that you'll consider Metro Atlanta as an option. If you want to talk about anything specific, don't hesitate to reach out to me. People call me and pick my brain all day. If there is a cost I didn't cover in this video, comment below. I read all of the comments. I'm happy to run some additional numbers for you for anything that you might want to know how much it costs in Metro Atlanta. And I think that you, like so many other people that are considering making a move into Atlanta, are going to find that it is the best city to live in. And I hope that you love it as much as I do. Talk to you soon.